Gather round, amateur detectives and aspiring forensic pathologists. Welcome to WatchMojo's Top 5 Facts and our special series about famous murderers. In today's installment, we're examining the myriad mysteries and inaccuracies which surround one of history's most well-known serial killers, Jack the Ripper, to count down the most intriguing facts about the case. Jack the Ripper was, of course, the name attributed by the media to an individual thought responsible for a string of murders within London's Whitechapel district between the summer and autumn months of 1888. The Ripper was never caught, and his identity remains unknown to this day.
Hello, darling. Like a bit of fun?
Number 5. Prostitutes were Jack the Ripper's victim of choice. Serial killers tend to fall into patterns. This was no different with the Ripper case back in the 19th century. The 5 victims most often associated with Jack were all women in their 30s or 40s with a history of prostitution. These attacks were all grotesquely violent, featuring slashed or slit throats and multiple puncture wounds along the pelvic area or abdomen, while organs such as the kidney or uterus were occasionally removed from the body. The Ripper also seemed to know the police schedule and his surroundings quite well, taking his victims to secluded areas primarily on weekends or bank holidays. This latter fact seems to infer that the Ripper probably had a job of his own and belonged to the lower middle class residents of Whitechapel proper. Number 4. Many anonymous individuals claim to be Jack the Ripper.
Can you tell me about the letters?
I showed the one signed Jack the Ripper to the police. Of the hundreds they'd examined, this one rang the most true.
Ripperologists is the term given to those who try to uncover the secrets behind the crimes of Jack the Ripper. But they're not the only ones who are obsessed with the case's gruesome details. There were actually over 700 pieces of mail sent to the media and police from those claiming to be Jack the Ripper. In fact, the very name which we so closely associate with the crimes derives from one of these missives. The vast majority were dismissed as hoaxes, but there are 2 particularly interesting letters sent during this time. One is the Dear Boss letter, signed Jack the Ripper. It warned that a victim's ears would be sliced off, a threat which attracted attention when a victim was indeed found with an earlobe missing. Meanwhile, the From Hell letter does not use the Ripper moniker, and was delivered with half a kidney to George Lusk of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee. Which one, if any, are the real deal? Only the Ripper knows for sure.
I send you half the kidney I took from Wimbledon, preserved for you. T'other piece I fried and ate. It was very nice.
Number 3. Some blame Lewis Carroll.
Have you any idea why a raven is like a writing desk?
If you haven't guessed by now, there's a lot of hearsay and theories about who was behind the Ripper killings of 1888. Seems like everyone living in or around Whitechapel or London without an alibi has been suspected. Case in point, English author Lewis Carroll. Yes, he who created the legendary Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. Carroll's accusation came from a 1996 book by Richard Wallace titled Jack the Ripper, Lighthearted Friend, which claimed that one could rearrange some of Carroll's works into anagrams which described the author's involvement in the case. In reality, just about anything can be turned into an anagram, and so most Ripperologists place Lewis Carroll at the very bottom of possible Ripper suspects. The whole theory is basically Jabberwocky.
It's over me, please.
Number 2. The doctor didn't do it.
It's true these murders are the work of a madman, but a madman with certain medical skills, considerable intelligence, and education.
Skills, intelligence, education, this.
Of course.
From Hell was a popular Alan Moore graphic novel, and subsequent Hughes Brothers film based on the Ripper murders. The main source material behind this fictionalized account of the Ripper is the 1976 book published by Stephen Knight, titled Jack the Ripper, The Final Solution. Knight's theory places Queen Victoria's physician Dr. William Gull at the center of a conspiracy which involves British aristocracy and the Freemasons, in a story which, however fantastic, has multiple holes in it. Not the least of which is the fact that Dr. Gull was 71 and recovering from a stroke at the time of the murders.
Yes, these days I limit myself to teaching.
As early as 1895, newspapers were linking him to the murders. This speculation should come as no surprise, however, as it was these same newspapers which perpetuated the image so many of us associate today with Jack the Ripper, that of a well-dressed gentleman in a top hat and cloak. Most Ripperologists, on the other hand, agree he was more likely a low-income, working-class individual.
Apparently, the Ripper has struck again.
Number 1. History's classic cold case might warm up. The idea of new evidence emerging in a 100-plus-year-old case may seem unlikely. but this was exactly what happened in 1993, when a police letter dated from 1913 was put up for sale in a British antique store. This message from a Detective John Littlechild placed as a suspect one Francis Tumblety, a noted quack and charlatan with a history of misogyny and criminal behavior. Modern census information also happens to place him in the Whitechapel area during the murder spree, while his profession could tie into the surgical angle of the Ripper's organ removal.
Before he cut her throat, he removed her livelihood as a keepsake.
Although many important legal documents were lost when Germany blitzed Britain with bombing attacks during World War II, the discovery of the Littlechild letter, along with the fact that a lot of data from the period is now available digitally, provides hope that the mystery of Jack the Ripper may be solved once and for all.
Mankind has not changed for 2,000 years. We hunt, we're hunted. That's how it is. That's how it shall always be. The future will prove you wrong.
So, do you think you know who slashed their way through the nightmares of Britain's East End and into the history books? For more Freemason conspiracy top 10s and organs in jars top 5s, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
From hell. Well, at least they got the address right.